welcome to another episode of the Unquestioned Podcast with Louis and Willem. You might see it's a little bit different setting because we're both in a different country. Louis is in Belgium and I'm in England, so that's why we're doing this episode via a Zoom call. But first of all, this is the first episode in 2023. Louis, how are you? How has it been going this year? Tell us, how is it?
Doing great. Some great opportunities ahead on the horizon for this year. So excited to get started.
Okay, perfect. And we will do as well, like we did in 2022. We'll keep the same concept where we talk about 3 tweets of influential people in the world. And we deep dive in these tweets to explain and to as well get these questions unquestioned. Okay, I would say we immediately go to the first tweet, Louis. Yes. So let's start with the first tweet. And the tweet is from the CEO of Shopify, not Spotify, your company, Louis, where you work for. And the CEO of Shopify, he says, meetings are a bug. Today, we shipped a fix to this bug at Shopify. To start 2023, we're canceling all Shopify meetings with more than 2 people. Let's give people back their maker time. Companies are for builders, not managers. Okay, this is from Kaz Nitachian. Let's kick off with a first thing. Do you guys as well have a lot of big meetings? And what is your personal opinion about this move towards much only meetings with 2 people, much more intimate, Louis?
Yeah, this is a bold move. The idea is to increase productivity. Because at a product company, I think a lot of times when you have like meetings planned for the day, you have to context switch. And so having a meeting-free day, which I think most companies have, like 1 day a week, that's a meeting-free day, helps tremendously. But Shopify takes it even further and one is limiting meetings only to one-on-ones with your manager or with stakeholders or with someone like a teammate to explain something technical. So no social call, large group gatherings anymore.
Yeah, so that they have more building time. But don't you think as well, once we have larger meeting rooms or larger meetings, that we can as well have much more input of which things to build? And because we don't have that and only one-on-one meetings, a lot of features, the things will be built, which will never be really used. Because I think the bigger the meeting, sometimes the bigger the kind of amount of people that can, the average of people saying, yeah, we should build it or we shouldn't build that, will be larger and will be much more efficient of something that will definitely be used or implemented later on the way. And with one-on-one, you often one-sided view sometimes on a certain thing that you can build.
Input is limited, that's true, but it doesn't mean that you can't voice, give feedback, voice your opinion, give inputs through different channels like Slack, more asynchronous ways of giving feedback. But it's a good point. On the other hand, in a meeting, you try to strive for consensus, and that can take a long time. So yeah, better to just decide on something and continue and then course correct later.
Yeah, I would just, out of my opinion, from a startup, it's very easy if you have meetings with 2, then immediately you start brainstorming and start kind of in your head with 2 creating a whole new company that works for both of you or the features. And that's kind of very dangerous. So definitely always, when you have more and more one-on-one meetings, validate them with your customers or validate them with a lot of other people before you start building. Okay, that's I think a nice wrap up. And then now the second tweet that we'll talk about is from Balaji. He's as well a very future thinker. He is a man that is striving forward for more using of cryptocurrency, but as well he's the author of The Network States, which actually breaks down a lot of future predictions about how the world should work. and a lot of his predictions has come true. So that's why it's definitely a good author and speaker to listen to. And he tweets, "Whatever you own can be seized unless you hold the private keys." Louis, you are the host that knows the most about cryptocurrency, because immediately private keys is directly connected with that. Maybe give you your point of view, or break down what he actually means of you can't be seized when you own the private keys yourself.
Yes, what Balaji is telling us here is a very foundational principle, the very basics of cryptocurrency, which is the mantra is not your keys means not your coins. And why do people say this? Well, a lot of times the easy on-ramp for people to get introduced to the crypto world, to buy their first amount of Bitcoin, is to go to a centralized exchange, which is basically the old way of doing things, where you have some companies, some platform that you trust, and you tell them,
and they
hey,
store your keys in a way.
Yeah, you tell them, please, and you obviously need to go through a broker like this in order to buy something on the market. But usually they will also just keep whatever you buy in your account. But that means that you are at their mercy in case, not even if they are if they have bad motives, but if they go bankrupt or if they are hacked, you are also exposed. And the safest way to hold cryptocurrency and other assets is yourself in a cold wallet, which is not connected to the internet, so it's not exposed to malicious users or can be lost.
Yeah, because I think as well, this is a very good method to really have full ownership over your asset. The only problem is to make it fully applicable or usable to the whole world. That's difficult because everyone wants to just, I have my bank card and I want the bank, or let's say now that exchange for my cryptocurrency to take care of all the admin and all the other stuff. Because they might think, I might lose my private key and so on. So there still needs to be kind of a way to make it easier to store your private keys safely, not with a third party, but yourself, where you don't have to think about it and it's completely safe in a way. Would you agree, or do you think in the future as well?
Yeah, it's like giving the key to your home to someone else. That's what it comes down to. And the whole idea, the whole premise of cryptocurrency is that they are decentralized, which means you can take control. You are your own bank, essentially, which has, of course, other risks, but at least you can trust from start to finish that you actually hold this piece of digital scarcity. And going to a centralized exchange is the complete opposite. So yeah, it's back to the old world.
Yeah. And I think there's a good reference, like we are on today's world, we already give a key to our neighbors or to maybe our sons or daughters. So there's always a little bit of kind of backup of private keys, and probably I think in the future that will need to exist as well for our
that's true.
funds,
That's true. If you pass away, and you hold your cryptocurrency or your private key somewhere, like the bank doesn't know about it, the solicitor notary doesn't know about it, so they're essentially lost. So we will need good systems, probably using multi-sig or something, multi-signature, where different people hold different keys in order to hand over to your relatives.
Yeah. So for example, then when you die, 3 different people as well hold a key, so that if those 3 people sign, yes, this person has passed away, and yes, that is the kind of the contract where his funds will be divided over the certain people, his family or whatever, then that's as well validated, instead of the person that passed away who can't validate anything anymore, and that stays on the blockchain, but it can never be kind of passed on to the next generation. Voila.
Yep.
I think that's a good conclusion of Balaji's tweet. So let's go on to the last tweet, which is from Shamal Palipaptia. Hopefully I pronounced it right. But he tweets, the two most important drivers of the next decade are the marginal cost of energy and the marginal cost of compute will both go to zero. He as well stated this again in Lex Friedman podcast. Why is he saying that? Personally, I see these trends continuing because we've had a trend already more towards sustainable energy and even wind and solar energy dropping massively. And if you would keep continue on this trend, because we have issues like global warming and we have to have more renewable energy, then this trend would play out towards zero. And the same for compute. What do you think that this means, Louis?
Yes. Chamath is looking at this from an investor's perspective. He's looking 10 years ahead for his future investments. And these are his two bets. He's betting that marginal cost of electricity and a marginal cost of compute will go to zero eventually. And what will that mean? Well, that means that you're going to be able to use 10, 100, 1,000 times the energy or the computational power to power, for example, artificial intelligence in the future, in let's say 5 or 10 years, for a price that's almost zero.
Yeah, and
so he's using this framework, this idea to look at the best places to invest that are going to reap the most benefits from these changes.
Yeah,
it's up to us to be creative and think of the use cases once we have that power at our disposal.
Yes. And definitely as well, there will be a lot of misuse because of if the electricity goes to zero, and as well, it will be an increase probably of using these resources for bad things, but as well an increase for the good things because it's so democratized and everyone can use, let's say, much more electricity, much more intelligent power. So we'll see what our generation will do or do with this into the future. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Louis, for another great episode of the Unquestioned Podcast. Hopefully it was clear. Louis as well, like you see, we're trying to work through these topics to break them down, to make it easier for us to understand, but as well for our listeners. So please, if you have any comments or feedback, let us know. And hopefully we see you on the next episode of the Unquestioned Podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.